cheated. Charles Ingram's run on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire didn't feel lucky. It felt impossible. He struggled with early questions, second-guessed himself constantly, then suddenly started hitting impossible answers with perfect confidence. Viewers noticed, producers noticed, and whispers began, "No way this guy is winning clean." The conspiracy was simple but wild. Someone in the studio was coughing to signal the correct answer every time the host read through the choices. People assumed it was an urban legend, until the investigation dropped. Producers replayed the entire episode and found a pattern so blatant it was undeniable. When the correct answer was spoken, a cough would pop up from the audience section. Sometimes it came from contestant Tequin Whittock, sometimes from Ingram's wife. But it was always the right answer, and always perfectly timed. The show refused to pay the million. All three were taken to court. They were found guilty, fined, and given suspended jail sentences. It wasn't luck. It wasn't instinct. It was the most low-tech cheating scandal in TV history. And it actually worked, until the microphones caught them. Planted. For years, viewers swore American Idol wasn't showing real auditions, at least not the terrible ones. The theory was simple. There's no way these people got through multiple producer rounds by accident. And fans were right. Behind the scenes, contestants go through several pre-auditions long before meeting the celebrity judges. By the time cameras roll, producers already know who can sing and who will make good TV. The bad singers weren't surprises, they were selections. Some were chosen because they were quirky, delusional, overconfident, or completely unaware. Others were fully aware and leaned into it for TV time. The show curated the chaos on purpose, stacking the lineup to guarantee viral meltdowns, meme-worthy performances, and Simon Says moments. It worked too well. The public eventually caught on, and producers quietly phased the practice out during the show's revival, confirming they had indeed been showcasing planted disasters for entertainment. The conspiracy was true. The worst singers weren't accidents. They were planted. Loyalty. When The Walking Dead killed off Dale out of nowhere, fans were confused. He was supposed to survive far longer, just like in the comics. So why did he suddenly get written out? Behind the scenes, a much bigger drama was unfolding. Showrunner Frank Darabont, the man who launched the series, was abruptly fired over budget fights with AMC, and Jeffrey DeMunn, who played Dale, wasn't having it. DeMunn had worked with Darabont for years. They were a team, so when Darabont was pushed out, DeMunn made a decision. If Darabont was gone, he was leaving too. Writers scrambled to adjust. A major character arc vanished overnight. Dale was killed off not because of the story, but because of loyalty to the man who created the show's entire tone. Fans suspected something was off. They were right. Staged. Pawn Stars always looked a little too perfect. Rare artifacts walking in the door at just the right moment. Sellers delivering flawless sound bites. Experts appearing instantly like they lived in the parking lot. Fans started suspecting what the show denied for years. There's no way this is all random, and the conspiracy was true. Every seller is pre-screened, their items vetted weeks before filming. The famous walk-in moment? Totally staged. The shop is cleared of real customers so producers can fill the background with extras. Multiple takes are filmed for each negotiation, and cast members are sometimes told to buy items they don't even want just because it makes better TV. That spontaneous, "Whoa, I've never seen one of these before?" Rehearsed. That dramatic lowball offer? Coached. The show isn't fake. The items are real, the deals happen, but the illusion of randomness is completely manufactured. Fans guessed it, producers confirmed it. Not reality. Reality TV. Scripted. For years, fans claimed The Bachelor wasn't a love story. It was a production, controlled beat by the people behind the cameras. And it turns out they were right. Former producers and contestants later confirmed what viewers suspected. Dates weren't spontaneous, emotions weren't always the Bachelor's choice. Producers guided conversations, orchestrated drama, and even decided who stayed or left early in the season, not based on chemistry, but on ratings potential. Contestants were encouraged to cry, argue, confess, and fall apart on cue. If a fan favorite wasn't connecting with the lead, producers nudged them forward anyway. If someone dull hit the top four, they nudged them out. Even The Bachelor's decisions during rose ceremonies were sometimes pre-negotiated moments framed as romantic destiny. The contestants weren't just dating, they were following a loose script shaped by audience analytics. Behind every rose was a producer's hand. Pretend. House hunters always looked simple. A couple tours, debates their options, then picks their favorite. But fans noticed something strange. Why were couples already moving into the house they supposedly chose? Eventually, former participants confirmed the truth. Most of the show is pretend. The buyers had already purchased their home before filming. Producers then filled in the rest. 2 extra houses the couple would never buy, staged debates about which one to choose, and multiple takes to make the reactions look spontaneous. Some of the toured homes aren't even for sale. Some belong to friends. Some are Airbnbs. Everything is structured to look real, but none of it actually is. The big twist? The choice at the end was made months earlier. The conspiracy was not a rumor. It was the entire format. Tumor. When Izzy Stevens suddenly developed a life-threatening brain tumor, fans were confused. The storyline came out of nowhere, felt strangely dramatic, and wrapped up just as quickly. People started whispering, was this medical twist actually a message to the actress? Behind the scenes, Katherine Heigl had become controversial, publicly criticizing the show's writing, calling her Emmy material not deserving, and clashing with producers over long hours and contracts. Tension was boiling. The writers needed a solution. The Tumor storyline became that solution. It gave the show a reason to sideline her, reduce her screen time, and ultimately write her out completely, without directly firing one of their biggest stars. Fans suspected the sickness was symbolic. Years later, cast members confirmed it. The plot was less about medicine and more about management. Izzy recovered. Heigl didn't, not on Grace, rigged all along. From the outside, Legends of the Hidden Temple looked like pure childhood chaos. Fog machines blasting, giant stone heads shouting riddles, and kids sprinting through a maze that felt twice their size. But behind the nostalgia was a conspiracy that every 90s kid quietly suspected. There was no way this thing wasn't rigged. And the truth? It absolutely was. Kirk Fogg himself admitted years later that producers were quietly pulling the strings. Nickelodeon only allowed 8 winners per year, not because of difficulty, but because of budget. That meant the Temple Run, the final challenge everyone waited for, wasn't just hard. It was designed to stop kids from winning. Rooms were intentionally confusing, door mechanisms failed on purpose, temple guards popped out with no chance of escape, and when kids finally did figure out the path, time magically ran out. To a generation of viewers, it felt like watching an impossible mission every episode. But the reveal hits harder. Those children weren't losing because they were slow, uncoordinated, or scared. They were losing because someone in the control room needed the prize count to stay low. The game was never fair. It was never meant to be. Your childhood wasn't dramatic. The temple was. And the conspiracy was real all along. Feud. On-screen, Carrie and Samantha were the definition of ride-or-die friendship. Off-screen, not so much. For years, fans whispered that tension was building between Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall. Salary disputes, creative disagreements, long silences on set. Nobody confirmed it. So it lived as a rumor, a conspiracy woven into the fandom. But when Cattrall refused to return for the revival, the truth cracked open. Producers admitted she wasn't even invited. Cattrall openly said she wanted nothing to do with the franchise. The best friends on TV couldn't even stand to film together in real life. Suddenly, the awkward story decisions made sense. Samantha being written out, the distance between characters, the reunion that never happened. What viewers suspected for years, the feud was real, and it shaped the show more than any script ever did. Upstaged. For years, fans believed a conspiracy was brewing behind the scenes at NBC, that Jay Leno secretly maneuvered his way into The Tonight Show, bypassing David Letterman, who everyone assumed would inherit Johnny Carson's throne. NBC denied it. Leno denied it. Executives dodged every rumor, but decades later, the truth finally came out. A hidden succession contract did exist, guaranteeing Leno The Tonight Show the moment Carson stepped down. Letterman never stood a chance. While he was winning critics and reshaping late-night TV, Leno was securing the job off-camera, working deals that no audience ever saw. The late-night feud wasn't just rivalry. It was a network power play, and the public never learned the full story until long after the dust settled. Carson retired. Leno slid in. And Letterman? He moved to CBS, upstaged before the fight even began. Props. On TV, Cash Cab looked completely spontaneous. A random taxi ride turning into a lightning-fast game show with real cash handed over right there in the back seat. Except, it wasn't real cash. Contestants started admitting something odd. The bills they held up for the camera felt stiff, fake, almost like movie money. Because they were fake, winners didn't actually leave the cab with thousands of dollars in their pockets. They got paid later by check after signing paperwork, and only if they didn't reveal production secrets. And the random passengers? Not so random. Many were pre-screened, contacted in advance, and placed exactly where producers wanted them for the shot. The cab wasn't just a taxi. It was a moving set. What looked like a wild, unpredictable New York moment was really just well-orchestrated TV magic, complete with prop money, staged pickups, and carefully controlled chaos, taught before they played. On TV, Survivor challenges look brutally simple. Jeff explains a complicated obstacle course in about 20 seconds. The players nod like they understood calculus. And then, boom, the challenge starts flawlessly. For years, fans whispered the same theory. There is no way these people memorize all that on the first try. And the conspiracy turned out to be completely true. Before cameras roll, the contestants get a private walkthrough with Jeff and the challenge designer. Not a quick look, a full rehearsal. They climb the structures, test the puzzle pieces, practice transitions, even talk strategy with their tribe while producers stand nearby. Every first attempt you see on TV, it's actually their third or fourth run-through. The edit hides all of it to keep the illusion alive. Jeff's rapid-fire explanation you hear on screen is purely for the audience. The contestants already know exactly where to jump, crawl, swim, and untie knots. Even the dramatic stumbles and screw-ups aren't from confusion. They're from pressure, fatigue, and sometimes producers tweaking things between takes. Survivor markets itself as raw, unpredictable survival. But behind the scenes, it's highly controlled, polished, and rehearsed. Every challenge mapped out like a carefully choreographed dance. The real game begins long before Jeff says, "Survivor's ready?" Eliminated. One day, she's alive, planning a wedding, licking envelopes, and seconds later, she collapses and dies. No goodbye, no build-up, no emotional arc. Just dropped. Fans immediately suspected something was off. Nobody believed this was the writer's original plan, because the death felt too random, too abrupt, and completely disconnected from Seinfeld's usual storytelling rhythm. And the conspiracy was right. Jason Alexander eventually revealed the truth. Heidi Swedberg, who played Susan, was incredibly difficult for the cast to work with. Not rude, just impossible to match comedic timing with. Scenes felt stiff, jokes died, chemistry never clicked. After repeated struggles, even Julia Louis-Dreyfus joked, "We should just kill her." Larry David loved the idea, and that joke turned into canon. Susan didn't die because the story demanded it. She didn't die for comedy. She died because the cast couldn't act with her anymore. So the writers took the most Seinfeld option possible. No emotion. No moment. Just envelope glue. A behind-the-scenes issue disguised as plot. And one of TV's biggest open secrets, exit. Patrick Dempsey's departure from Grey's Anatomy felt wrong the moment it aired. McDreamy dying in a random roadside accident? No build-up, no emotional runway. Just gone. Fans immediately started whispering that something behind the scenes must have forced the writers' hands, because no show would voluntarily nuke one of its most iconic characters like that. And the theory was dead on. Years later, the truth leaked Dempsey wasn't written off for the story. He was written off for the set. Cast and crew described him as unpredictable, frustrated, and difficult during production. HR was constantly involved. Shonda Rhimes reportedly reached her breaking point. Official statements said, family time. Reality said, get him out. So the writers grabbed the sharpest narrative scissors possible and cut him loose with one shocking twist of fate. Fans cried. The show moved on. And McDreamy became proof that, in Hollywood, sometimes the drama off-screen is deadlier than anything in the script. Removed. James Evans doesn't die in a dramatic finale. There's no farewell scene, no final monologue, no moment with his family. Instead, a letter arrives. A letter. And inside that letter is the news that James died in a car accident. No build-up, no warning, no explanation. Fans were stunned. The emotional core of the show was gone in the most anticlimactic way possible. So the conspiracy started. Why would a main character be wiped out off-screen with zero impact? Why not even give him a real exit? The truth was uglier than the storyline. John Amos, the actor who played James, finally admitted that he wasn't written out for story reasons. He was fired. He constantly clashed with producers over the show's direction, especially the shift toward JJ's over-the-top comedic persona. Amos wanted realism. The studio wanted laughs. And eventually, the arguments became too much. So instead of negotiating or rewriting, they killed him by mail. No scene, no farewell. Just a typewriter and a single line that changed the entire show. James wasn't taken by a car. He was taken by the writer's room, hidden. For years, The Cosby Show was America's idea of wholesome television. A perfect family, a perfect father, a perfect home. But behind that warm sitcom glow, something darker was whispering. Long before the world knew the full truth, rumors circulated. Radio hosts hinted. Tabloids printed accusations. Actresses quietly warned others about what they had experienced. But the industry, they looked the other way. Cosby's image was too powerful. His charisma too profitable. Networks didn't want cracks in the foundation of America's favorite dad. So the truth stayed hidden. Whispered about, dismissed, ignored. Until decades later, when the allegations finally exploded into the mainstream and the entire legacy of the show changed forever. What fans felt was off for years. It wasn't a conspiracy. It was the truth waiting to be heard. Payback. On Cheers, Eddie Lebeck's death was one of the strangest twists ever aired. A freak Zamboni accident that came out of nowhere and ended his character instantly. Fans immediately suspected something behind the scenes, because the tone didn't fit the show at all. They were right. The truth eventually surfaced. Jay Thomas, the actor who played Eddie, joked on his radio show about how unpleasant it was to kiss Rhea Perlman, the actress who played Carla. Word got back to the writers. And that was it. Eddie was erased from the show in the most bizarre, humiliating way possible. Not only did they kill him off, they later revealed he was also a polygamist con man, twisting the knife even deeper. It wasn't a creative decision. It was studio revenge, written directly into the script. Performed. For years, viewers wondered how Gordon Ramsay could be that explosive. Screaming, slamming pans, calling dishes raw with gladiator-level intensity. The conspiracy theory was simple. There's no way anyone is that angry in real life. It had to be an act. Turns out, it kind of was. Former contestants revealed that Ramsay off-camera is calm, patient, and genuinely helpful, the exact opposite of the furious kitchen tyrant the show portrays. Producers openly encouraged him to dial up the fire, push the insults, and create chaos because it made incredible television. Meanwhile, on shows like MasterChef, the real Ramsay appears, supportive mentor, soft-spoken teacher, total pro. The secret wasn't that Ramsay was mean, it's that Hell's Kitchen needed a villain. So they made one. The anger, the explosions, the meltdowns, all performed for the brand. Off stage, Ramsay is the guy comforting scared cooks, not destroying them. The Gordon you see is a character. The Gordon contestants meet is a completely different man, outed. Before the puppy episode aired, rumors swirled everywhere. Tabloids, radio shows, industry gossip, all whispering the same thing. Ellen is going to come out on TV. ABC denied it. Ellen DeGeneres denied it. The production locked the script down tighter than a Marvel movie. The episode title itself was a decoy meant to throw people off. But the conspiracy theorists were right. The entire cast and crew were sworn to secrecy because the episode wasn't just a plot twist, it was Ellen coming out in real life at the exact same moment her character did. The network feared backlash, advertisers panicked, and the media stalked the set. The hiding, the coded language, the secrecy, it all fed the belief that something huge was brewing. And it was. When Ellen said, "I'm gay," both on TV and on the cover of Time, the world changed. The rumors weren't rumors. They were the truth struggling to break through Hollywood's silence. The conspiracy was right. She was being outed by the industry, by the media, and finally, by herself. Rigged. Long before modern reality TV scandals, the biggest TV conspiracy in history was already happening, and viewers had no idea. In the 1950s, quiz shows like 21 drew massive audiences, especially the rivalry between Herbert Stempel and Charles Van Doren. Fans believed they were witnessing genuine competition until Stempel revealed the truth. Producers weren't just influencing the game. They were controlling it. Contestants were given answers in advance, coached on when to win or lose, and directed to create dramatic storylines. Every gasp, every upset, every comeback was engineered for ratings. It was less a contest and more a scripted performance disguised as truth. When Stempel finally blew the whistle, Congress launched a full investigation. The scandal was so enormous that it nearly destroyed the entire genre. Quiz shows were blacklisted, networks were embarrassed, and America realized their beloved fair competitions were anything but. The biggest twist? Viewers didn't just watch history, they were tricked by it.